All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. Big news coming your way, folks. Trump is about to sign an executive order and declare a national emergency. Well, according to Juan, this looks like what's coming. I'm also with Tracie Halverson, who's launched a grassroots effort in Utah against the governor. Folks, this is going to be one hell of a podcast, and I can guarantee you that there's a lot going on here. Juan, thank you for joining me.
Hey, everybody understand, and Trump himself expressed this in a news conference about the Ukrainian stuff the other day, just 2 days ago, and said that he was preparing to sign an executive order concerning elections. But let me give you the rest of the context that you have to put that in. Right now, we have aircraft prepping right this minute for some type of imminent action in Venezuela. The Justice Department put out a $50 million bounty to take custody of President Maduro, who's there in office illegitimately because of, their system is designed to put people in office. I'm trying to be careful in my words.
You're doing a good job. You're doing great.
And so all the things that you hear me talking about on the back channel. But those same systems were used here to a nation state level attack on the American election system. And we have all sorts of evidence, including the people that were involved in it here in U.S. protective custody. And the nations involved, it's not just Venezuela, it's Cuba, who really was running Venezuela for a very long time. And then you have Iran that was directly involved, aircraft flying back and forth from Iran daily to Venezuela with the mischief that they were doing and stuff into Central and South America. And then you have Serbia, where the actual servers were located that were used to send the data back for building used there. You saw just the last few days that there is a second legal review being looking at prosecution of John Brennan. Well, in part, it's because he owns half of that building with the wealthiest man in Serbia that was the base or the site where the servers were located that were used into elections around the world, not just America. And by the way, just a quick note, I've mentioned it in the past, but people probably forgot. The country that was used for the test when they moved those systems from Venezuela to Serbia was South Africa.
Wow, and you've been spending a lot of time over there
right now. What's happening right now is the Justice Department is preparing to do a criminal indictment of the president, 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗃. Remember the guy that was in the White House and Trump pantsed him right there in front of the world with the videos of the farmers and the funeral government was attacking, essentially authorizing and promoting attacks on whites. Right. That president, 𝗵𝗶𝗃, is about to have an indictment on him, similar to Maduro. And so we'd like to get Maduro out of the way before we go deal with South Africa. And there's all sorts of issues in Africa that tie into the billionaires behind his presidency and their mischief all across Africa, including up into the Congo, where there's all these deaths, and the refugees into Uganda, where I've also done some broadcasts with you from. So with that background, the president's going to, there's action going to take place in Venezuela, which is the...
How close are we from the action taking place in Venezuela? Like how many
origins? Hours? That look. Let's let them do it in their timing, okay? And there's certain other people that have given away timing, and it was not appropriate. But in the generics, everybody knows it's coming, and we have materials that have been pre-staged around Venezuela in nearby friendly countries that is just about complete now. So that will probably happen fairly shortly. And then as that happens as a backdrop where the country is aware, the reason we're doing this is because he isn't in office legitimately, and many other countries were affected by this. Other countries, nation state level attacks were done on election systems all around the world. So President Trump is going to declare a national emergency, is our understanding at this point in time, which then, by the way, just for context, before we get to Tracie, I just want people to understand how big this is. When people inside of Justice Department, for example, blocked the release of 𝗬𝗏 where we had a pretty good arrangement there a couple of times to lawfully remove her from the Colorado because of states' rights and authorities, and because this was a state and county case there in Colorado. From the federal side, there's certain obstructions. Remember, Trump said 3 times, release Tina Peters, get her out of jail. Okay, well, the interesting thing is if you declare a national emergency related to elections, a national emergency, within that national emergency, Trump becomes essentially, you want to know kings? Okay, well, you're going to get a king.
You're going to get it now.
Commander-in-Chief. In that context, he can do literally just about anything. No federal court can stop him. And he can order within the election crisis emergency, national emergency, Tina Peters to be picked up and taken out of jail immediately.
Wow.
They wanted trouble. Trouble is about to come their way because she will not be in their care and custody anymore
Juan,
in
let
that
me ask you this.
circumstance. So I believe. Yep.
How many days, weeks away are we from this being signed, for him declaring a national emergency, signing this executive order? Do you have any idea?
Well, let's use President Trump's own words, so I don't have to, say anything out of order. President Trump said during a news conference the other day where it was being talked about Ukraine, somebody raised the issue of elections in Venezuela and things like that, and Venezuela and things like that. And Trump gave a detailed response and said that he was preparing to sign an executive order. He didn't say anything about national emergency, although that's in that context. He was preparing to sign an executive order concerning a hand count paper ballot, and that the country was going to have to go to a hand count paper ballot. Now, he said that. Right. And there was other details he said that let everybody know there's a executive order. We're close, because I've talked with your listeners, that a team that put together back in January prepared a proposed version of the executive order, because the prior one that I'd seen was not adequate to the task, I thought, and we could help with that. So we put together a proposed 17-page proposed executive order concerning hand count paper ballots and all the details that were needed from people that are experts in writing these types of documents. It has many months. Version is, as President said, followed by attorneys. There's certain details in it that are different. Now, I will tell you this. The way that we wrote the executive order proposal was with federal authority within the limits of federal authority concerning elections. So you can only mandate, if you will, through the federal offices. However, everybody listen close. This is where it's going to get really, really interesting. If President Trump first, okay, I'm sorry, it's just so frustrating. It just burns me up. Okay, if President Trump first signs into being and takes control, like king, if you will. Okay, you don't want no king, well, you got a king, but he's called a commander-in-chief in the West. Over in the European countries, they might have a king. We have a commander-in-chief. That means he takes total control of everything as commander-in-chief. So when he does that, he now has authority down through the state, county, and municipal level. And no state can oppose him for anything. So if he says, go grab Tina Peters within the national emergency, he can do whatever he wants.
Wow.
And there's no judge, there's no court, there's no federal anything. They can file stuff till they're blue in the face. It's a national emergency. And by the way, where's the support within the public? See, the public has to be along for this. And the public will be along for this because, first of all, we're going to have large national discussions about what is going on in Venezuela and why this military action in Venezuela. And then the other countries involved and the national security side, where even American citizens and agency heads, such as Brennan, were involved in throwing up here in America actively.
All right, let's get into
okay. Well,
okay. Let's get into that on the back channel.
Okay, well, you can cut that out, but then let me finish right here.
You want this up tonight, right?
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, you got to cut that out. So then the third thing is the executive order, and he can then do the executive order within the context of a national emergency, all the way down to the way that states, counties, and cities run their elections. He is not restricted. The executive order, as we wrote it, was only within federal limitations. But if you're going to have a national emergency first, then he can order voter registration.
So first
to meet certain guidelines, order them.
First would be
first
the national emergency.
You got to understand he's going to do. First would be the national emergency, and the context is what's going on in Venezuela, because there was nation-state level stuff there affected us here, and the countries involved there, and the intelligence agencies, their involvement. He does national emergency in the context of a national emergency. He can then issue an executive order concerning elections, and we take control. He takes control of the election process.
Okay.
Level.
All right. One. Let me bring Tracie in.
No court can stop him. No court can stop him.
Okay. So no more lawfare.
Lawfare. That's a key component in the context of this. And then, briefly, and we'll cover this more on back.
Juan, you're breaking up really bad. Let me get to Tracie. Tracie, let me just break to Tracie for a second. Juan, you're breaking up really bad. Tracie, what are you doing? What grassroots?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Tracie, what grassroots movement are you doing there in Utah right now?
We have challenged our governor and our election system too. If you want to pull up 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃corruption.com, that is where you can find out more. And it's a class action, and it can be it's for everybody, because our elections impact the entire nation, because it's actually took a Senate seat, and we don't have a representative form of government. But you can join here. There's already 797 that have joined, and then just share and ask anybody in the United States can join, because it's impacting everybody.
Anybody and everybody in the United States can join, as long as you're a U.S. citizen.
Yeah. And if you scroll down, you'll find the complaint. If you keep going, we can go back over that later, but there's a complaint right there that you can read, and it describes what happened in our election.
Okay.
In Utah, we have a unique way, I guess, of nominating. It's a more representative form of government, which that's what everybody wants, and it's always under attack. But it's the state delegates the primary convention to political parties. So at first you have your caucus night where your neighbors go and elect a delegate. And then you have, once you're elected, either a county delegate or a state delegate, you go to the convention, but you vet all of the candidates, and you go to the convention, and if a candidate receives 60% or more, they are nominated to the general ballot. That means they won it. if nobody reaches 60% or more, the top 2 candidates are nominated to another final primary ballot. And that's in Utah, the Republican Party is a closed primary. So just only Republicans would vote in that final ballot with the last two of the that were nominated to it. But our lieutenant governor usurped her authority and put the disqualified candidates on another ballot and forced
Wow.
a second chance at nomination.
Wow.
Yeah. And so this case talks about how they knew what they were doing. And once they did that final primary, for example, Phil Lyman got 60% over at the convention. So did Trent Staggs. So Trent Staggs would have been our Senate.
Wow.
Because he's the one that actually won. He got almost 70%, and he was Trump endorsed. And our governor would have been probably it was Phil Lyman, because we're very Republican state. Like almost everybody votes Republican here.
Right.
But they are very dependent on the delegates to vet them. So they think, oh, well, those are the nominees. But Spencer said, if I gather signatures, and if I get 28,000 signatures, I get a second chance. And it's like they're over their own elections.
Right. Like he's making up the rules as he goes, or what?
Well, he's made it up since 2016 is what I've learned.
Wow.
So-
Okay. So
Well,
let's
go
talk.
to the back channel, but let me just add this one quick thing, Nino, and that is the core is that this lawsuit would take out a sitting governor, the lieutenant governor, who actually is the core of the whole crime family in the way that she conducts herself, and then a senator. That's how it would work. And so, but the unique thing is that every citizen in the country can be on this lawsuit.
Wow.
And if when everybody gets a cookie and 𝗵𝗶𝗍, so everybody agrees.
All right. So let's
It's a very important law because it's a chance to get this to the right place.
let me show the site one more time so people know where to go, folks. This is where you go right here to get involved. And voila, there it is. Stop the corruption. All right. So let's go back to the back channel, talk about this more with Juan and Tracie. We'll go into the real finite details and all of this and the national emergency, the executive order, the whole thing. We're going to cover it more extensively on ninoscorner.tv, folks. All right, guys. I'll see you right over there.
Okay.